Hey everyone, Daniel Whitlow here coming at you live. Hopefully everything should be coming through. We'll give hopefully people a few minutes to join here. Got some hopefully exciting stuff to talk about tonight. All right, we got a few people joining here. See, my table's a little shaky here. I'm trying not to lean on it too much. All right, we're adding people now. Hey, Tractor Hyatt, how is it down in let's see here, Tallahassee, Florida? I'm sure the weather is much nicer down there than it is up here. Very cold and kind of snowy today. It's not great. I was unloading the second load of tractors that I brought home, and it's not the weather I wanted to be out in. But thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Um, I'll give people another minute here. So for those on, as a reminder for some of my other live streams, I really appreciate it if you put in the chat like just where you're from, what tractors you have. Tractor Hyatt, I got you down here. Let's hear you got. Oh man, you said a 38 case RC and a 50M. All right, it's been warm this weekend, but cooler air is coming. Okay. Yeah, probably not snow though, but yeah. So, right. Well, we will go ahead and just kind of get started here. Got a list of stuff that I wanted to talk about. I guess we're into 2026 now. Everyone was kind of posting videos of 2025 and year in review and so on. I didn't end up doing a video like that, so I thought I'd talk through some of that a little bit here. I know uh, for 2025, a lot of my channel videos outside of shows were new generation based. Um, I anticipated with my 4020 high crop that being some of the source of the videos, but I really did not intend for it to be so heavy on new generation. That strictly was a product of the high crop has been kind of my project that I've been working on when I've had time. But then of course the first day of like hay season was when our 3010, the synchros went out on it. We were um, raking with it. My father-in-law was bringing it back to the house and wanted to go from sixth to eighth. And I always knew when it shifted, it never found eighth quite like it should. And he said he wanted to throw it into eighth going the hill, and it just locked itself kind of there. We ended up having reverse, so he was able to kind of stop, unhitch. We pulled the rake back and brought it home in reverse. So then that, I was hoping to really tear into that and get that back for second cutting. And of course, time just did not permit that. I think it wasn't until September that I had that back together. It was very interesting going through that for the first time, the synchros and the synchronizers, because my high crop's a power shift, pretty different. And then I talking with my good friend from college. He's got a farm up kind of north of here. They have the 4010 that I've had the video series on, and I knew they were having trouble with the PTO on it, and we had kind of bought them another tractor that they were able to use the PTO on and so forth. But we decided we wanted to work on that this winter. So then that was kind of the third new series of sort of new gen videos that I've got going on, and as you know, if you've been paying attention, I don't have that done yet. I was hoping to knock that project out here over the Christmas holidays, and it just didn't happen. So where it sits right now is I do have it back together. I don't even have the bolts tightened back together, but I got it slid back together, and then it's just kind of sat. So I hope to get back on that maybe next weekend. My last couple weekends have been, hauling some of these two cylinders back, or not back, but getting them over to our house. So I'm hoping for those of you out there that are more two cylinder based, I'm hoping to have a lot more of that this year. But we'll see. I really need folks on the high crop. I'm sure my father-in-law is getting tired of seeing that in his shop. And there's still a ton to do on it. But it helps when it's sitting there and it's at least back together versus, it used to be in halves. We did the H, of course. So the H, that was really interesting. I really enjoyed that project. Just a quick, like a tractor that I knew, and I know some people don't like it, but I knew it would make potentially a parts tractor and or a good parts tractor. But taking that model apart and just seeing what all was inside it and how it was different from the A's and the B's and the G's, that I just found that really interesting. So that's something I want to keep in mind in the future. That if I see, a John Deere, and even if it's junk, like I just want to get it and take it apart, and if I can sell some parts off to maybe recoup whatever price I paid for this piece of junk, I want to do that. That's why I want to get a little more diversity in the experience that I have for the tractors that I'm working on. Hence, hopefully, some of you guys watched my latest video that I posted yesterday. So I brought home a BO, a GP, and then yesterday I'll hopefully have the video next week. I brought home an unstyled A and an unstyled B, and we'll see if that's the end. But for now, um, but yeah, 2026. I hope to incorporate a little more two cylinder. We'll see. I I was hoping for more videos this year. I know a channel that I watch. I'm not sure how do you pronounce it really. Joan Ulster. I believe the guy's name is Joe Nelson. I watch his content, and he does a video a week. And props to him because I don't know how he does it. I'd love to get in contact with him just to meet up with him and collab a little bit, but I haven't been able to. But if you haven't gone to his channel, it's a really good channel. He does some good stuff. Him and his dad, they've got a bunch of two cylinders. They live somewhere out west. But I cannot do every week. I just don't have the time for that. I hate to pull that card, but full time job, family, and everything. But I forget. I think I counted. I had like 24 videos, so I averaged like every other week, sort of, last year, and I can't remember if that included my show videos, which that takes away quite a few. I had quite a few show videos. So let me catch up in the chat here a little bit here. Joey, thanks for joining again. Good to see you. Recommended by Fred. Good evening to you. So what else we got going on here? So one of the exciting things I wanted to announce for the channel, my channel name when I created it, I just went with Daniel Whitlow because I wanted my name to be kind of my name brand. I didn't want to be a name that no one, really knew kind of behind this, or knew the individual's name and so on and so forth. So I just went with Daniel Whitlow. Well, hindsight's 2020 a little bit. I'm so thankful that the channel has grown. And with that, I wanted to add to my name something that could be more memorable for people, something that I could, develop into, merchandise and things like that. So let me, shoot, I don't know. Let me see how to do this here for a second. But before I announce this, where I'm at. Oh man, I'm sorry. I fall flat on my face here announcing this because I wasn't prepared for it. Um, but all right, we are gonna go. I'm going to add to my channel name, and we are going to use the name Gearbox Acres. And I have a logo that I'm sorry, I'm trying to get on the AI bandwagon and learn how to use it and so on. I'm also reading AI, how much power consumption and everything AI takes and things like that. It is unfortunate, but there's things that obviously AI can do that it's just incredible. Um, so let's see if I can open this up here. Incorporate it sometime this week. But when you see my channel name now on YouTube, it'll probably read Daniel Whitlow, um, Gearbox Acres. And so hopefully you guys are seeing this here. So this is going to be my logo. So I wanted to go a G with the gear, and then the barn with the A. And then I can do like a flat design version of this, and we can start doing like T-shirts and things like that. So I'm really excited to have that addition. Hopefully, it'll help with the channel and be a little more known for people and so on. I didn't want to do a wholesale shift and get away from my name. And also, as part of Gearbox Acres, I'm creating a Facebook page called Gearbox Acres. So if you're on Facebook, find it. I'll be posting my videos towards that also. I may start to kind of get supporters there, repost some of my older stuff too, like shorts and things, kind of going down memory lane. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for that. I want to grow the channel. I want to expand and reach more people and more audience. I'm not trying to be a sellout or anything like that. Please, hopefully you don't think that. It's just really enjoyable, going to shows like Classic Green and meeting up with people, and helping people and so on. So I want to expand and learn more and collaborate more and so on. So that's that. So Daniel Whitlow, Gearbox Acres. Um, let's hear what else we got going on. So I put out a poll the other day, and I was actually very intrigued. So I put out a poll of outside of row crop tractors, what um, you know, I'm trying to find it here. What type of tractor do you guys find most interesting? And I got 35 votes. And it was a tie between high crops and standards. So I found that interesting. Orchards and industrials were, tied, third and fourth. I was a little surprised by that because the orchards and the industrial tractors can be pretty unique, a little more rare. But that was interesting. So I may try and think of more polls like that to do, just to see what everyone likes out there. Um, but thanks. So catching up with Chad here. Glad you like the logo and the name. Again, anyone that's joined, please feel free to post, where you're from and what tractors you're working on and so on. I like to kind of keep tabs of that and help with the collaboration a little bit. Um, so let's hear. We talked about the plan for the channel. We did kind of a 2025 in review. I didn't look up when my last live stream was. But I know going to Rantoul for a half century of progress, hands down, one of the most incredible shows I've gone to. I highly encourage that for anyone. I was told they might be featuring. I didn't hear what the feature was for the next show, so it's every 2 years. So the next one will be in 2027. I was rumor was they were going to feature the John Deere 6030. I'm not sure anyone can tell me if that came about. Um, but that'd be interesting if they featured an actual John Deere. So this year they featured the 1206, and they had close to like 300. It was the most incredible thing to see over 250 1206s, lined up one after another. Like just an incredible turnout for that. Um, Hi Lane, well glad Tractor Hyatt brought you here. Hopefully you stay here. Um, So Joey, you went on the standard. Oh, utility. Okay, I think it only allowed me four options. So I thought those were kind of the more popular ones. But oh yeah, lower to the ground around the hills around here. So I'm in the southwestern part of Pennsylvania, and we have pretty steep hills around here. It's pretty amazing. You just go like even 20, 30 miles from here, and it's more rolling hills, but we've got some pretty steep stuff. Hi, Elijah. Welcome back. Um, let's see here. What else we got going on? Um, so, anyone working on anything over winter? Um, Outside your normal tractors? Like I mentioned, I'm trying to finish up my friend's 4010. That was interesting. I haven't done I haven't done the video on it yet, but we're actually eliminating the 1000 PTO on that tractor. The 10 series were problematic in the 540,000 switch and so on, the way it was designed, and so we're just eliminating 1000. They don't need it. Someone ever wants to add 1000, they can split the tractor and add it back in. Well, I'll have a video on that. Um, and let's see here. We discussed the poll that um, we talked about. Um, so because the chat takes a few minutes for some of the stuff to come up. So one thing that I'll ask, and you guys can respond, and we'll talk through in a few minutes, is maybe what shows are coming up this year for you guys, depending on in your area. I know probably the biggest show for me will be the Eastern Expo in Lancaster, Ohio. I think that's just southeast of Columbus. I will be going that. That is the second weekend in June, something like that. So that's I think that runs Thursday through Saturday. It's an every other year show also. So I went to that in 2024. Liked it a lot. Don't wait to go there till Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? Whatever the last day of the show was, I was shocked. That place cleared out. Like even by morning, like when the gates opened, a lot had left the night before. And I'm not really sure why. So don't wait till the last day to go to that show. There was a lot more. Hopefully they'll be doing tractor games again. If so, I'm excited to do that. I really enjoyed the tractor games the last time. Um, but yeah, so that, and then the what is it? National Threshers Steam Gas and Horse Show in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. Um, I've kind of gotten tired of that show a little bit because it seems like it's the same old stuff there. But my kids absolutely love going to the show, so I will be there whether I have a tractor there or not. I'll try and bring up a tractor there. It's just that they have a spring show and a fall show, May and August, and it's not to make excuses. I'm always so busy at that time, whether it's hay season or whatever. But I will try and make a bigger effort to bring a tractor or something there, or just meet up with people. But yeah, I need to. It's been a few years since I did a video of that show because I didn't want it to be too repetitive. But I'll probably do another video of that there. Can always use John Deere's there. There's a strong IH following there because I'd say in this general area, IH was bigger, at least really local. We had a lot stronger dealer support in the in this area. So you find a lot more older IHs, from your 60s and 70s, your '06 series, your 66 series, 86s, just things like that. Um, and then yeah, I'm not sure what else. I was told there is um, hopefully you got audio. It's showing I've got audio, Fred. Um, that there was a show in Southern Indiana, kind of by Louisville. I think they were featuring John Deere this year. I think it was this year. Lynn Brothers said that they were going to try and get as many of their tractors or many of their tractors to that show. So it's like a 5.5 hour drive. I might be interested, but that's a pretty long haul for me. Um, so let's hear Florida Flywheelers. I hear about that as a big show. I have to look that up on YouTube. I'm curious to see how big of a show that is. Show in Gray, Tennessee in April. Ooh, that's early. And Northwestern Minnesota show. Wow, that'd be um, up there. You taking a tractor that far, or just driving or flying? I'm curious. Um, Randomly, you can see I got my G shirt on here. I know it's past Christmas, but I only happen to wear it like once a year because it's winter. I don't wear t-shirts in winter, but it says like Silent Night on it, which I laugh at because if you've ever had a G, there's no Silent Night if you got a G going. But um, funny thing is, if you pay attention, someone posted in the chat what is wrong with this figure and why there actually isn't a John Deere trademark or copyright or anything on this shirt. But it was sold at Lowe's at one point. So, anyways, um, but yeah, there's something isn't right with this tractor. But it was still so cool. I had to buy it a couple years ago. So, let's hear what else we got. And I'm sure he's a little bit bigger channel than I am, but Kenny Kizzle and Rusty Nuts Ranch. I want to give a shout out to him because his latest video, he restored, like mechanically restored and everything. Didn't do a paint job. Kept a lot of the stuff, original patina. He restored like a 2728D, and in his last video, he talked about the cost of restoring it. And I hope that video is kind of humbling for him, and it's something I've never really like brought up in detail. I started to with my miscellaneous projects try and keep track of how much I'd spend and just lost track with receipts and I knew a general tab and I was almost embarrassed with what goes in to some of these tractors like just very quickly. But Kenny did a great video talking about his D. He had, and I hope he doesn't mind I repeat it because he had it in his video. He had like $18,000 in his D, and I can understand it depending on what machine work and things like that you have to do and so on. Like I was blown away it was that high, but at the same time I could see it getting out of control. Sorry, not out of control, but like way more than people think. Um, hey Kenny, how are you? I'm glad you're joining. So I know my B, and I always say my B first project I ever did. It should have been a parts tractor, but it was my first project, and I didn't know what I was getting into and whatever. And I probably have well over 8,000 in that B. Now, granted, I've got new rims, new tires on it, front and back, and that was, before COVID when stuff was half reasonable. But I don't even want to know. Like in the end, I probably kept it under 10,000, but just a standard everyday B. I'll never get that money out. Never. Um, and half the tractor I say isn't even original because it was in such bad shape. But it was a learning experience. Um, and Okay, I said we were having a chat. Well, thanks for joining, Kenny. I appreciate you joining. And again, really loved your last video. And I know with my 40/20 high crop, it's going to go a lot deeper. Like if I kept the high crop under 18,000, I with a paint job that's probably not even achievable. But just mechanically, we'll see. We got the back half of the tractor done, and I'd figure I'm under 7 or 8 at this point. But if I got to do a full engine, 8 at this point. But if I got to do a full engine rebuild and things like that on it, I'll blow past 18,000, no doubt. Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing with this hobby, like Kenny's saying here in the chat, is we don't get the money out of this. Like if you get the money out of, a tractor, then it must have been really special so that, whatever the value it has in the end, it's super rare or something like that, then good for you. But if you really take a tractor apart and work on it, just the cost of the gaskets and I don't know, just what I would call consumables or replaceables, you'll have near the value of the tractor. Like that's just the way it goes. Um, so like Kenny said, sometimes we can only do this so quickly because it costs money. And I think Kenny has talked about it, but for me, I'm blessed that I've been able to do it financially, but time is what limits me the most. Um, yeah, you don't plan on selling, right? Yeah, never say never. That's right. Life happens. Um, yeah, I know. So you talk about doing it for your sanity. My wife talks about any project I do. There's multiple stages, and I can't remember. She has a posted note either on the fridge or somewhere that says like the first one is like, I'm so excited about this project. This is awesome and whatever. And then I tear into it. And this can be a tractor. This can be we were redoing hardwood floors in our house over Christmas break, like refinishing them myself. Then I get into it and I'm like I hate this and so on. And then it's like, all right, next step. I wish I'd never done this project. Why did I do this? Why do I do this? As a hobby, if it's tractors, like this is so expensive and so on and so forth. And then, I think Kenny mentioned it. You hear that engine fire for the first time, or you drive it for the first time, or you have one moment with your kid and they say like they want to go for a ride on it or something like that, and it's hard to deny that feeling. Um so that and my kids, they're still young, they're not really into it yet. I think they're growing a little bit in interest. They love all the hay and farming that we do and whatever. The most. They'll ride with me all day long, doing baling and things like that. Um, but I think the fixing and the antiques and stuff is just a little too slow. Stuff doesn't go according to plan and things like that. So yeah, grinding paint off of tractors. Yeah. Um, so here, one other thing I wanted to talk about. So I mentioned in my latest video that I brought home, and I'll have a video on it again next week, an unstyled A and an unstyled B. So I don't know which one I want to do this with yet. But one thing I am excited to get into at some point, who knows, it may be next year at the rate that I have projects lined up now. Um, I want to take a tractor, and hopefully people will appreciate this and not, rake me over the coals for it. I want to strategically cut open all kinds of parts of the tractor and I want to be able to and cover it in plexiglass so that someone can walk up at the show and spin the flywheel, or if I want to get super fancy, have like an electric motor or something spinning it. And I want someone to be able to see every part from the tappet assembly all the way back to the rear axle moving. All your valves, all your pistons going up and down, your camshaft, your governor. I want someone to be able to see every piece. Transmission's going to be a little difficult. That may be a little hard. But I want to find a way that someone can walk up, kids, whoever, can go and just see what all is working in these tractors. And I hope it adds a lot of value too to the channel. So if I get questions, um, then hopefully I can, hey, I got this question. Let me show you here on this tractor, whatever, what's going on, and so on. Like one aspect I get asked a lot is about the clutches and the pulley and how do they work. And someone asked me to do a video on how they worked, and I hadn't gotten to it, and I hadn't thought of a good way to kind of explain it and see it. And this hopefully will solve that problem because I basically want to take the pulley and I want to cut away the outside of the pulley and then part of the first reduction gear cover so you can see the collar moving inside there. And then you can see the clutch plates and everything closing and the, dogs and toggles and things like that. So I'm as odd as it is, that's one of the things I'm most excited about to create because I just think it would be really unique to take to a show. So yeah, I've seen cutaways too, like static cutaways at shows and so on. There is a B on YouTube that someone did a cutaway like this of certain parts of the engine, like the pistons and things like that. And I looked at it and I want to take it to the next level. Like everything, cut open the governor, just everything on it to be open. So let me catch up in the chat here. Like the tractors were built by hand. Yeah, no robotic welders, no CNC. Yeah, and just back in the day, the tolerances and everything, the simplicity of it. Couple tools and a hammer and screwdriver. Yeah, it does. It takes friends. I've got a good friend. His name is Steve. That helps me out a lot with some machinist work a little bit. I won't lie, I could always use another machinist friend, or if anyone is interested, like in my area of doing this cutaway stuff, like I'm not looking to do it for free, but I will need to find a machinist to do this cutaway and so on and so forth. Unless I don't know how much I could just take a 7-inch grinder and just start cutting. But yeah, so that'll be a big project, and I've had time to think about it, but of course, when you go to start doing it, it never quite goes to plan. But yeah, so like what you're saying, Joey, is I want to put it on a trailer and then be able to like pull it with a tractor and take it to shows, right? Because I'll take the wheels off again, so you can see like the axles moving and things like that. John Deere be at roll lag for the John Deere feature. Okay. Not 9N cutaway. Cub cutaway. Yeah, so I know there's cutaways out there, and like I said, I haven't seen many that have moved, and that is my goal. Is I want it to move, and just see. So yeah, it's good to know there's other cutaways out there, and I hope that helps gain interest in the hobby and things like that too. People can see that at shows and talk about it because one thing I can't remember if I had this idea beforehand or whatever. So the H that I took apart, I was shocked. I was going to sell it piecemeal, and I had a guy message me, and he just bought everything, bought the whole thing, every piece, just individual piece. We loaded this H up into his truck and trailer, and he had quite a few. They were trying to go, him and his dad or whoever was trying to go for buying one of every model. And they had, I forget, like 10 or 12 already or something. And I was shocked when he told me, he goes like, I enjoy your channel because I've never been inside one. And it's just, it's a totally different side of things, right? Like he has a lot, but he was asking me like how to do stuff because he's never had one apart, right? So hopefully, it kind of clicked in my mind, like, just because you have these tractors doesn't mean you know what's inside them and what is going on and so on. So I hope that to kind of reach out to that. Um, Hi Hans, thanks for joining. Um, see here, we need to cut away of our wallets. Yeah. Um, Forgot to put a bottom in my wallet. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Hans, thanks for joining. Also, Hans from Tractor Hoarders. He's out west in Colorado. Again, much bigger channel than myself. So thanks for joining. Love watching your videos. I have to say, Hans, you have to let me know if it was on YouTube or only on your Facebook page or what. Because I know it was a reel. He had a reel the other day. I was on the phone with Hans and I told him about the song. Where the heck is my husband? Why hasn't he found me? And I was cracking up in laughter. So I don't know if Hans, if you're allowed to like put a link to it in here or whatever, but I highly recommend it. Like it was just I wish I had created it, and I showed it to my wife, and she just didn't quite appreciate it. But um so yeah, it was so good. So yeah, I appreciate you guys put out some good content. And another thing I wanted to mention with the channel here is I like to. This was my wife's idea, so props to her, especially if it works out. I want to start doing a live stream once a month. So these live streams, this isn't the first Sunday, but I'm going to start doing the first Sunday of every month. Don't care if it's 10 minutes or an hour or whatever. If we got people and chatting and going on, we'll have it go on. But I want to have more collaboration going on. You don't have to come to them all, but if you got questions, topics, I hope to do some collaborations. So Kenny, we hadn't talked yet, but I was probably going to reach out to you at some point. I mentioned it with Hans, kind of doing a collaboration and so on. So I'd like to, maybe each month think of a topic to talk about, even for 5-10 minutes or something unique. Just things like that. So one other thing I hinted to in my last video, and that was before I went to the second trip back to get more tractors, is about parts. Is what we'll see if I get it all recorded this week. But not only did I get 4 tractors from this gentleman, I got parts galore. So borrowed my in-laws Dodge 6-foot bed. I filled the bed twice, and also like inside our car that we took on the one trip, also I had parts and inside the cab of the truck around my kids and things like that. And there's some really unique stuff in there. So pay attention. Hopefully, I will get it recorded for next week. If not, it will be the following week. But some really unique stuff that I get all giddy like a little kid just to see. Some of it I'll end up selling because I don't need it, whatever, and I'm selling for them. This gentleman has had kind of some health issues. He's gotten to the age where he just needed out. So um, they were very nice people that I met. It actually was a previous owner of the 4020 high crop that I have. That is how I got in contact with these people when I was tracking down the history. Got back to him, and then he still had manuals and he still had parts for the high crop. So I went and visited him in May. And then even going through his garage and everything this week, I found more parts to my high crop that were missing. So really excited to get those parts. Um, and because each part I find is money I don't have to spend. Um, so um, let's see here. I'm trying to catch up. in the garage. Totally on Marketplace. Um, can you recap the 4 tractors I acquired? Sure. Um, okay, Christian, yep, Gap, Pennsylvania. Thanks for checking in again. Case dealer literature, they need to go through and get rid of service manuals, all kind of stuff. Um, yeah, and sadly, like I found parts to I think it's a mid to late 20s D, and I know where the parts go. It was a tractor that got sold to someone, and I'm trying to see if I can hunt down that owner, because it goes to the tractor that he bought. Um, but I will still have those in the videos because uh, I, yeah, I will. We'll be talking about an early D carburetor. I'll give you a hint on that. Um, that was in the parts that I found, and wheels and stuff like that. Um, what else? So the 4 tractors I acquired. Recap. So there's oh shoot, 1939 BO. Um, Whenever I get the 4010 done and who knows what else, that'll probably be the first tractor. Uh, no, sorry, maybe a little bit later. It's a DLTX. Um, but the 39 BO is free, engine is free, transmission is free. I'm sure if I verified if it had spark right now, I don't know if it does or not, and I put the carburetor on it, I bet the thing would fire up. The tires hold there. I don't think it sat outside too long. It's all there. I need to rebuild the clutch. I was dumb. I pulled the handle back on the clutch and bent the rod to engage the clutch. The clutch was even the castle nuts were barely on. So I will. I got to rebuild the clutch on that. But my hope. I didn't run the bore scope on it. I'll do that as another video also. But my hope is that that tractor won't take too much. Um, I got to see in all the carbs that I got in the from the trips of the last couple weeks. Um, if I have the correct carburetor for that, I believe I do. I believe that I found that in one of the boxes. So the BO is just unique. I looked it up. They made about 5,000 of them. Um, and some of them became Lindmans, and then some of them became basically BRs with optional air stack and muffler. So there's fewer than that. But cool tractor. The GP I got is a 1930 because it's a small bore. They went to the big bore in 31. Um, and the intake and exhaust manifold was not bolted down on it, and the cylinders are just full of rust. I'm curious to see what the inside of the transmission case looks like. I ran a bore scope down and it looked okay. I didn't have my good bore scope on me. I had my kids one if you watch the video. But it looked okay, but the inside the cylinders are absolutely horrendous. Um, so yeah, I know Nathan from Pop's Antique Tractors. He had a video a couple months ago replacing, I think it was the head gasket and the head on a GP. So I, appreciate his video. It gave me a spotlight or a view into what um, what I need to do for that, because the GP is unique in that you have the head and then the valves are actually in the block above the cylinders. It's just so different. Because I always wondered why the GP block was so tall. Well, that's why you have your cylinders, and then the valve assembly is actually above it, and then the chamber, like say it lets gas in here, and then it goes kind of into the cylinder. So very, very unique. The GP was not successful. Um, for John Deere really, but they learned a heck of a lot and they poured that into the A, and the rest was history. Um, So there's that. That's what I had the video on this past week, and then this weekend I brought home a 35A, and I think it's a 37B. Um, the 35A, the head was in the garage. It's in rough shape. Of course, that's all locked up, and the A has round spokes on it. The round spokes are what's correct per the two-cylinder archives for my 39A. So I was not looking forward to paying for a set of round spokes because I want that tractor eventually to be all original. I want to get it painted up, professionally redone. But right now it has 10 spline axles, which is supposed to have 12 spline, and it has cutoffs on it. I think at some point someone just swapped the whole rear end of the tractor. So I would need to get 12 spline axles, yet 12 spline hubs, and then now I have the round spokes to go on it, and the tires on that tractor are brand new. Like they on the outer part of the treads are still the little rubber tips on it. They're brand new. Um, so yeah, it's a mid 35A, so it is the closed fan shaft. It was 600 after they stopped making the open fan shaft. Um, so not sure again if that will become my cutaway or not. Um, I may have reason or not to make that the cutaway, but I'm still holding something up my sleeve a little bit. I'll just say for now. I may hint towards I don't know. I'm waiting on a call back about something and maybe an additional project. Um, that I came across something really rare, so I'm just keeping it close to the chest right now in case anyone else finds out about it and so on. Um, but and then also, so the 37A, I think he started to restore that, and sadly, it just went outside, and um, and yeah, like it just the first reduction gear cover wasn't on it, so the outside of the crankshaft is kind of rusty. The governor, sadly, the governor shaft, I think, isn't in it, and it was left open, so it was open to the environment. So I have a feeling I'm going to pull off the crankcase cover, and it is. I don't think it's going to be very nice inside. That one's on skeleton steel, and of course, I was unloading it today, and I saw one of the rear wheels is bent out. So I know, steel wheels, and Kenny, you tell me if you agree with this. They seem like they've lost their muster. I've seen sets of skeleton that are on like marketplace or for sale or things like that, and they don't sell. And I'm just shocked because, you think there aren't, too many sets of those around anymore. I know Andy Deach, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's from like I think Dayton area, Dayton, Ohio. He had a set with bands around it too, so you could actually go somewhere and not dig it up wherever you went, and he couldn't sell them. He had them at the Eastern Expo 2 years ago, and he offered me a ridiculously low price if I wanted them, but I couldn't. As cool as they would be, and then I forget why. At the time, I thought I think can't remember if that was before I did the registry on my A and knew if it was a rubber tire spoke wheel or not. Because I got my 39A and it had cutoffs, and I thought, oh, it came with steel on it originally, and so on. But then found out it wasn't. So depends on what it is. New rear steel for WC Alice. Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, we'll be talking about lugs and things like that in my hopefully my next week's video. So yeah, early D. I'm sure Hans buys up all of that stuff, right? Or most of that. But yeah, I reached out to Hans about one of the things I brought home this past weekend that you guys will see also, to kind of understand its value and so on. Has to do with lugs or road treads. Yeah, yeah. Road lugs, hard to find. Road pads. Yeah, 'cause I know. Um, whew, 1,000. Wow. Um, I've got that 47D on all steel that I got when I bought my high crop, what, almost 2 years ago. It's still sitting outside my shop. I haven't had time to get to it. Um, I it's bad. I am very skeptical that it is going to be recoverable. When I ran that borescope down in my one video, kind of I did an inspection video, like buying guide of it. It's bad inside. Um, so it may be a good yard art piece, but there's still some good parts on it that I'll probably take off and whatever. Um, 2K for an umbrella. Wow. Did Hans buy that? So the Hans, sorry, there's two Hans. I kind of find it interesting. There's Hans from Tractor Hoarders, and then we got Hans from, sorry, he's not on YouTube. Hans Knudsen, if I pronounce that right. Hans Knudsen, he collects D's. His collection is just absolutely incredible. I reached out to him about something, and it was new old stock. And then we were talking, and he just sent me a picture. He had six, I think it was six new old stock blocks, like the same one, like lined up on the floor. I was like, holy cow! So, you know, um, there must be quite a few new old stock ones out there, or he has them all. I don't know. So afraid to tear into the 60. Yeah. Oh, mice in the engine. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, it gets hard. And like you said, Kenny, it's the machine work. I thankfully knock on, whatever. And the projects I just got may change that. I haven't had much machining work done so far. Like, I haven't bored out any of the tractors I did so far. My A, for a just a plowing and parade tractor or whatever, like, it was fine. Um, my B, the machinist recommended just honing it and whatever, so that's what we did with that. And then trying to think of what else. Those are the G. The G, I didn't even take the pistons out of it because the rest of the engine on that tractor, you could tell someone had put a lot of money into it at some point. It was still standard bore, but it had the high compression John Deere pistons in it, cast high compression pistons, and like 70 insert rods on it. Um, so I didn't even take the pistons out of that one because it looked good. Um, and but yeah, machine work, it's good. I joke in this hobby, if you're there's like three aspects, and maybe there's more. Put it in the chat if you think there's more. There's mechanic work, there's machine work, and depending on what you're doing, painting. I'm kind of the mechanic. I love doing the mechanic, turning the wrench and whatever. I will happily take machinist and paintist friends. So if you're one of those things and you want to be my friend, let's be friends. And if you're close, we can exchange work, whatever. But I'd love to do bartering and things like that. Like we talked about, that this hobby is so expensive. So if we can do stuff for each other, hopefully that helps each other out. Um, all right. So, man, we are approaching on the hour here, so we'll probably wrap it up soon. I think that is kind of everything that I had, on tap for this discussion. Any questions anyone has? Um, I'm appreciate the response tonight. Like I said, I plan to start doing this monthly, and if it's just a couple people, it can be real short. I'm not saying I'm going to have something a lot to talk about every time like this. Like, you know, it was kind of a year in review, and I just got these projects, so I got a lot to talk about. Um, Oh yeah, that's right. Kenny did that video of Han's collection. So yeah, if anyone's interested, you know, go to Kenny's channel, and then he got to go through Hans's collection and see some of it. It was an excellent video and just shows the I feel like a peak probably of his collection. Just absolutely incredible. And Brian, I know Brian McClurg. I've only talked with him in person one time, um, at at a show or two, because I think he goes to the Eastern Expo. I believe he has a G collection like no other. Just absolutely incredible um, G collection. So um, I've only gone through three buildings. How many buildings does he have? You know, but yeah, saved a bunch of cash, your own lathe and milling machine. Yeah, and it's you know those machines take money. You got to know how to run them. I don't know how to run them, and so on and so forth. They take space, um, and sadly, every bit of space that you see in my video is borrowed. So could give a thumbs up in the video, and hopefully that we can give that to my father-in-law, because it's all because of him that I have room and the ability to do it at his shop or shops, um, because I'm starting to take up more and more room, but so I gotta do stuff for him a lot. I try and do a lot. Don't get me wrong, I love doing, you know, farming. You know, we do hay primarily. I mentioned in my last live stream, I haven't done like hay videos in a few years, just because, um, you know, when we've been doing hay, it's been like very fast paced the last couple years, and you know, just haven't taken time to do videos. And you know, it's kind of a different base, different from my normal audience, things like that. So I may try. My oldest requested me to do a few videos this year of hay, 'cause we were watching my hay videos from like, well, almost 4 years ago at this point. He was enjoying them. So, um, what would be my dream tractor? It's always, I feel like my interest is always kind of changing a little bit. Like, you know, it was always the B. When I was growing up, I wanted to be. First tractor I got was the B. So I was like, that's awesome. And I was like, all right, what's next? Well, then it seemed like there was a weird hype at the time about G's and unique G's. So I wanted a G, and I got the G. And then, you know, I the 39A was by accident. I bought it to flip it. It had a one row corn picker on it, and then once I got it, I fell in love with it. It was hand start. I loved the hand start. It starts easy. I'm telling you, I love tractors that are easy to hand start. I just love that ability, and so on. And then, you know, I've wanted to work on new gen. So the 4020 high crop came up, and it was so unique. I just said I'd take it. And then I thought, well, we'll expand my knowledge base and so on. And again, I know it's separate from the audience that I was building and things like that, but I don't know about where you guys are, and you know, if you guys farm and so on, but around here, the mechanics who work on, you know, new generation plus tractors, they're retiring or aging out, and the people to work on them and the experience is just dwindling. So you know, the 4020, and it's, you know, it's famous and everything, so I wanted to work on that and a power shift, so that was like a good fit. um, so I was excited to get it. High crop was never in my realm of a dream tractor. Um, and but right now, if you had to ask me, like, go and pick a tractor, Again, I kind of fall for what's popular a little bit at times. 730 diesel. I would love to have a 730 diesel, and that's one of those like the G. Like I got it. I worked on it and decided, okay, I wanted the cash, and you know I moved on from it and sold it. I'd love to have a 730 diesel. What I really don't know is whether I would want electric start or pony start because I love the convenience of just turning that switch and it starting, but the pony motors are just they have a special place in my heart because they are just so cool. When I grew up, my grandpa had an R, and just the sound of that pony motor and everything. But I know they are super expensive to work on. They're very finicky. They're in a whole nother engine, right? Carburetor and pistons and oil and all that stuff. Um, but I know the electric starts are more sought after, but the ponies are they're just so cool. Um, but so yeah, I would say right now that is my I gotta say one other exception. Um, at some point, I don't know if it's watching Rusty Wrench Restorations. Shout out to Steve and his channel. He does some great videos, and he really has specialized in crawlers. I want a crawler at some point. I was bidding on one earlier this year, an MC crawler, and it went for stupid money. I have questioned whether it was kind of a gimmick to I don't know the bidding company because you could only bid certain things live. I'm sorry, and this is stuff to watch for. I'm saying this is stuff to watch for at online bids. Is the you can only bid the big items online. And so they had this MC crawler, and it noted the tracks were shot on it, like they were worn down flat. And so I'm listening live on the auction and bidding on it, and they go, "Oh yeah, by the way, we've got a set of new tracks for it in this other lot over here." Well, if you weren't there in person, then you could buy the crawler and not buy the tracks. Like it was kind of messy. But anyway, it went way high, dumb money. So I was kind of thankful for that because I ended up, these other tractors being lined up. Um, I wasn't aspiring to get these tractors, but I knew they were out there, and I kind of wanted to save them. And then they actually called me late last year, 2025, and said, "Hey, we're looking to move on and move these out." And so I said, "Yeah, I'll take them," and so on. So, yeah. So my wife, we were laying in bed last night, and she goes, "How many tractors do you have right now?" And I said, "Do you want to talk about something else?" And she goes, "Are you deflecting?" I said, "Yes." So I'm up to 8 now. Now, granted, I just brought 4 home, so I just doubled, right? So I've got 39A, 48B, 47D, and then 4020 high crop. It's 1964. Second 4020 high crop built. So that's what's a little unique about that one. And then, of course, the GP, the BO, unstyled A, and unstyled B that I just brought home. So um, let's see here. Waterloo Boy's your favorite. Um, Definitely a unique. And any particular like model of the Waterloo Boy, like an N or R or something like that. Um, own all of the Bs, B, BR, BO, BI, BO Linman. That would be a really cool collection. I would say that would be really neat. So yeah, that's where it all starts. Next thing you know, you got every variation of every tractor. Yeah, but very cool Waterloo Boy, an N model. Okay. Um, Yeah, bucket list to drive one. Yeah, you never know. Go to a show, and you never know if they have one going. Um, but yeah, so I know Kenny, you talked about it. Like it takes time to get through these tractors and so on. And I wasn't even averaging like one a year before, and this high crop it has kind of drug on. I unfortunately did not get to take the work on it much this summer because I was working on, again, actual tractors, our 3010 and now the 40, my friend's 4010 over break. So sadly, it didn't get the attention that I was hoping for it would this year. And it's been 2 years this March since I got it, and that's only been the back half of the tractor. But hopefully, I can. I figure I got a few years in projects now with these other four, but we'll see. Time is just time is my limiting factor. Um, but yeah, there are different versions of the Waterloo Boy if you look into it. Let's see here, help Rudy with his BO Linman. Oh yeah, that crawler that was cool. I joke I laugh because you talked to Kenny about getting at that Linman and it's like a puzzle. My wife joked that's what I did tonight is the unstyled A and the unstyled B is just it's taken apart and I brought all these parts home, and that's where I'm putting them in my garage right now. I sadly can't even park my car in my garage because I'm laying all these parts out. I'm trying to sort. Okay, this goes to the A. This goes to the B. This goes to something else. This goes to the GP, and um, you know, like multiples of parts too. Is it's not like okay, I've got one of this part. I've got multiple magnetos here, multiple carburetors, and just various stuff. So, um, yeah. So, yeah, looking forward to the Bo Lindman videos. So whatever happened to the John Deere H I tore down? A guy came and bought the whole thing. I was gonna piecemeal it out, and there was a guy who had think he said he had two H's that he was going to restore eventually, and it was going to feed those parts, or the parts from that were going to feed those tractors and so on. So, um, yeah, good to know. I think it went to a good home and was going to good use. So. Yeah, it's just a shame that tractor because it had nowhere. Yeah, if you guys watch the video, um, but it had nowhere, anywhere, anything you looked on it, the tappet assembly, the cylinders, like that tractor could not have been used, but someone left it outside and a tree grew through it, and it just like it would have taken probably unless the tractor was and this could be the case, an H could have looked good from the outside and been junk on the inside. Those two tractors would have been a match made in heaven. Um, but yeah, when you start talking about new hood and gas tank and various things like that, well, that's just going to come from a parts tractor that we're swapping money then at that point. The parts guy is the guy who's making the money and so on and so forth. So the parts attacked in your basement or attacked you in your basement. Um, oh man, that's good. So I don't. Yeah, my wife won't let parts in the house, and I don't blame her. That's taking it too far. I'm and she joked just the parts being in the garage. I hate having a cold car in the morning. So the fact that I can't park in the garage right now in the middle of winter is very problematic for me. So I am motivated to sort through these parts and take them over to the shop or put them with the tractor at least temporarily that they go with or whatever because I like my warm car when I leave for work in the morning. But yeah. So yeah, I think we've gone on quite a ways here. So I really appreciate the interaction tonight for everyone that has joined. Kenny, Hans, Tractor Hyatt, Joey, parts in the house. Yeah. Yeah, just I really appreciate this. I hope moving forward. I don't expect every month for it to be this long. I will not have anything close to this much to talk about, but Hope you all join, and we can sit around and chat together, and have some more collaborations. I wish, and maybe I need to find a way that we could do. I wish it was more than just a chat on the side or whatever. More voice interactions and things like that. So um, but yeah, feel free. First Sunday of every month. Send me. Um, if there's something you think we should talk about. Um, I'd love to. If you want me to bring a part, so my goal eventually, I have aspirations that are going to take time. I eventually do want to have Shopside chats in the shop. I don't have internet there right now, and so that is my goal, is to get there and have these in the shops where maybe I can grab a part real quick and something and talk about it and things like that. But we're just not there yet. Um, but so yeah, thanks again, others, Lane Miller for joining, and recommended by Fred. Just really appreciate the support. Give me a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I will probably start creating merchandise for the Gearbox Acres, some T-shirts and things like that. So I'll hopefully bring that to shows and whatnot. Anytime I go to a show, please reach out. I'll let you know in my videos and posts so on beforehand what shows I'm going to. Reach out. I love meeting with people at shows. Um, and so I really hope to do that more. Um, and my travel to shows, sometimes if they're far away, they end up turning into vacations, which my wife doesn't like. If she views it as vacation, certain days are all tractors, but then sorry, this is her messaging me. But uh, the tractor shows sometimes get me out in a way and get us to other locations and things like that. So also solo 70 or 70719. Appreciate you joining, and yeah, you all have a good night, and look forward to videos from some of you guys. And Joey, hope to see you some of the plow days coming up. If anyone, I don't think anyone else is on in this area, southwestern Pennsylvania. But if anyone knows of any other plow days, please message me. I really enjoyed the plow day I went to last year in Scottsdale, PA. There's another one up in Mercer, Pennsylvania, that I want to go to, and it got too muddy last year. I didn't go. Um, so yeah, I have these big aspirations for the channel, but yeah, appreciate it. It's life balance, and family comes first. My kids are only young once, and this time of life is very stressful, but the highs are high and the lows can be low. Um, but yeah, and so again, appreciate it, everyone. Um, Tell your friends, and we'll see you in the future. Have a good night.